Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Discussions with my sister Jamie and I. And today we are not going to be doing a typical episode like we normally do. Usually we do some sort of cultural discussion or something like that, but today we are not going to because we're going to do a get to know us episode and answer some both silly and fun and serious questions that we wrote up for each other. And I thought that would be kind of cool because not that I want to talk about myself all the time, because I don't, and I almost never do on the podcast. I'm sure some of you guys have questions as to who I am and who my sister is and why we started this ministry. So we're gonna talk about that today. I think the first thing we should do is, say that yes, we are sisters. A lot of people wonder who the older sister is these days, and it is Jamie.
Significantly older.
Jamie is 9 years older than me. And when I was a little kid, people used to ask, "Oh, is that your mom?"
Yeah, like we were at, it's those grocery stores that give the free cookies away. And
Yeah.
so like my mom would be like, "Oh, go take Jen to get a free cookie or something." So I'd like walk her across the store. And then they'd give Jen a cookie and they'd be like, "And does mom want a cookie?" And I was just like, "I'm like 15. What's the
Yep.
Anyway. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then it went from that to, "Oh, who's the older sister?"
You
Yeah.
know, I will be honest about this. I do appreciate the Zoom filters. Um, I'll just say that. I'll leave it there.
No, you look about the same in real life.
Okay. Well, I mean it smooths a little bit, at
Yeah,
least.
that's fair. That's fair. Same for me. You can't tell I have terrible acne.
N you you don't.
I
She's
I
like,
have,
it's so bad. No, it's not. It's not.
well, I mean the Zoom you can't tell at all. Okay. So yeah, you're right. The Zoom filter does help a little bit. Okay, so Jamie, we've discussed before that you are a pastor's wife, but what's your job? I think a lot of people don't know. What do you do for a living, and can you demonstrate an aspect of your job?
Okay. Well, like you said, Mike is the, he's a pastor. And so anything I do is usually like a side hustle because obviously we're pretty involved with the church and I homeschool my daughter. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have a little side hustle and I like to teach online. That's my favorite thing that I've found to do. And so a few years ago, I was teaching English to Chinese students, and that was wonderful, culturally like awesome to get to know some students that live in China. Some of them could not speak English and just communicating through like the curriculum that was provided and just body language. And it was really neat to see these kids go from like no English whatsoever into English. Um, but China kind of tightened what was allowed with their teachers, so they like cut that off. And I think there's still people that do that now, but for a while it just like cut off and you weren't allowed to do that. So I was like, "Oh." So I started working for a place called Outschool, and it's basically just like a marketplace of teachers that either teach a certain curriculum or write their own lessons or whatever. And it can be anything from like teachers to veterinarians to just whoever. If you know something, you can teach this online. So I teach music lessons online to groups of students, and it's a blast. I get to know like kids from all over the world. Like I have some students in Italy and England and Canada and many other places. Um, Super fun. And by the way, I don't, do you care if I do a plug for
N
this?
no,
Actually,
go ahead. In fact,
so
I actually brought up something that you did, and I'll share that with the people. So go ahead and do a
like
plug.
slightly embarrassing. I don't know what it is. I can like be silly around kids, but then like adults, I'm just like, I don't know what to say. But I like to be energetic with the kids and have fun with that. But if you've never heard of Outschool and you have a kid, you don't have to take my classes. I mean, you could if you want to, but they have like a $20 coupon to apply to any of your classes. So that means you could do like any Outschool class for $20 off if you want to use a link that I have, and I can share
Here.
that.
Yeah, share the link.
I have a like there's if you want to share the link on the thing, but if you want to take a screenshot of that code, it'll go to my page and it'll show you my classes, but I believe those credits can be used to any classes. I just love having like the next new student. You never know where they're going to come from or what country they live in. It's just so much fun. So,
Mm-hmm. Here,
all right,
let me
we have to do this. Okay.
well, first let me share your page. Okay. Let me share your page. And then you people can like look at what you do here. Can you see that all right? Is it sharing anything? There we go. Okay.
It is.
Okay, and I'll drop this link in the description. But I'm telling you guys, like, my sister's really good, and I'm not trying to, like,
Oh, you're sweet. You're
I'm not.
sweet.
She's an excellent singer. So Jamie has always been like the singer of the family, and
And you're the musician of the like you're the instrumentalist and I'm the singer kind of. We like to work together that way, but we both
yeah,
we both play and sing, but like
yes,
you kind of took over like
yeah.
piano.
So it's yeah. So Jamie went way down the like singing thing, and then I went the kind of the opposite direction. So yeah, Jamie's the much better singer of the two of us, and I would say I'm the better musician of the two of us.
Okay, I will say, I don't know if you guys know who Jodie Benson is. She voices The Little Mermaid. She worked with the Beginner's Bible, I think, and she came out with like these two CDs that did like Bible stories, and I fell in love with those when I was a kid. So I wanted to sing like her. I tried to sing like her. I practiced singing like her. I loved her voice and I loved those Bible songs that she did. And then it kind of was like, man, I want to sing with little kids. I love doing that. So that is kind of what I'm doing now. And I don't know. I love it. I love singing with little kids and just love seeing little kids sing. And Outschool doesn't allow for like Christian or religious of any, well, for the most part, like religions. They are secular and they're like, okay, we got to keep it secular. Um, so I can't teach like Bible songs to kids, which is really my passion. But I can do that at church, and I do that at church. But for this one, I'm doing dinosaurs.
Yep. So that
So
being said, let's bring up this lovely song that my sister wrote for children.
we don't have to listen to the whole thing, right? Like 2 seconds,
we'll,
3 seconds.
we'll listen to like 10 seconds of it. Is that a deal?
Okay.
Okay, so here's my sister's song for children.
Oh.
Let me hear you shout for the dinosaur, and we'll dance around all over the floor. Come sing along, we're gonna explore. Dinosaur, dinosaur roar. Clap, clap, clap like a big T-Rex. Swing, 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 Brachiosaurus next.
Okay. It's so cute, James. I don't know how
Okay.
you don't like it. I'm telling you, it's adorable.
No, it's not that I don't like it. It's just I don't know. I'm fearing
It's
the
so
judgment.
cute. It's so cute. I love it. Every time I listen to it, I'm just like, wow, that's so like fun. It makes me just happy.
So, my question for you then is what is your favorite hobby?
Oh no. I forgot to bring down all my crochet stuff for this question.
We'll just cut it for a second.
Okay, hold on. Let me go grab a bunch of junk. Give me a second.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Okay. Jamie warned me that she'd be asking me this question. And so I brought some of my stuff down. All right. So I enjoy crocheting, as you guys can tell. I am a crocheter, not so much a knitter, but I just recently learned how to knit. But okay, so here's some of the things that I've made. This is my most favorite sweater on the planet. I have this sweater.
You know what? Is mine a slight bit different than that?
No, yours is exactly the same, but just a different color.
I couldn't tell if the knit was the same. For Christmas, she gave me one in like a taupe color, and I'm obsessed with it.
It's the comfiest. And you're like, I mean, yes, it's holy, but obviously you wear a shirt underneath it.
It's very warm, actually. It's perfect. I love it.
Then I made this sweater for myself last year. It's a V-neck. There we go.
Doesn't that look legit? I mean, oh, good.
It's fun. I love crocheting. I'm almost always crocheting. This sweater I made a couple years ago for myself. It's actually it's like really dressy, and so I almost never wear it. It's a box knit. Yeah.
That is pretty.
Yeah,
Super
so
pretty.
the sleeves are like balloon sleeves.
Oh, yeah.
And so it doesn't, and they're really long. So I can't really like wear this to do like housework.
You can't cook in
Yeah,
that.
no, I cannot. And then one of my other favorites that I made, I got to put this one on. Hang on.
Oh, that is so pretty.
This is a poncho I made.
That is so cute. I just think it's so interesting how you got all those colors like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. This one, I forget the name of the girl that did the pattern. So this one it's not my own pattern. A lot of these are my own pattern. But sometimes I will follow a pattern because it's like really cool. And this is one of them. This was not my own invention, but super neat. Give me 1 second.
That is so cool. And I actually didn't realize that you were doing your own patterns. Really?
Yeah, pretty much everything I showed you so far, other than the poncho, was my own pattern. Here's a bathrobe I made myself. It did not intend to become a bathrobe, but it just sort of did.
Oh, yeah. I remember when you did that one, you're like, it looks more like a bathrobe than like a...
I was going for a duster. But then Garrett says that it looks like a witch. No, like a wizard. Like the cookie wizard or something. He said it looks really like wizardy, and I'm like, all right. This one I'm not gonna wear out too much. That's a at-home one. And then this one I just finished like 2 days ago. So this is a vest I made.
Ooh. That is so cute.
This is the first one I ever did with all natural fibers. So it's a cotton and cotton and cashmere. It's like special yarn that I got for Christmas. So yeah, I wanted to do something different with that one.
That looks really soft. Is it very comfortable?
It is. It is. And then last but not least, for my husband Garrett, I made a matching dog and husband blanket. So this is for Bandit, my dog, because he's a little dog. And then the matching blanket for my husband is right here.
So cute. It's so cute. I think, honestly, like we had a grandma that was really into crocheting, and she would never use patterns. She was just like, I don't know, I just keep going, and then it turns out, and she always was making something. It was great.
She did really well. Yeah, the cool thing about crochet is that you can just like edit it as you go. So like if something turns out wrong, you just undo it a little bit and then figure it out, and then yeah. Now I see
an incredible amount of patience though.
It does, and I can see why people do like patterns, because you don't have to figure it out, like somebody else did it for you. So you read the pattern and just do what the pattern says and the thing comes together perfectly. But yeah.
You didn't bring down that dress. Didn't you make yourself a dress too?
Oh, I did make myself a dress, but no, I didn't. I didn't bring that one down. I got to fix that dress because it was so heavy that when I hung it up, it stretched like it stretched like another foot. And so now the waist is like down like so far that I have to actually like I'm going to have to cut it.
It's
I'm going to
extra
actually have to cut it and like sew it together. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm definitely taking my time to do that because I'm stressed about doing it.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. I didn't know that. Do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to be careful when hanging some of this stuff.
Oh.
Okay. Let's see. Question for Jamie. Very similar. Tell us what you like to do in your spare time.
Actually, since we have really different personalities, but I feel like we do enjoy a lot of the same things, like just artsy stuff. I don't prefer to crochet as much as you do, but I wouldn't say that I hate it. Like I enjoy that kind of thing. One time I made a scarf that looked like a fox and you could wrap it around. That was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, you
But
made that for me.
yeah, and I did make one for you, but I don't know. I don't do that very often. But anything like artsy, I really like um soap making. I like to make soap
Mm-hmm.
and just experiment with like natural soaps especially because I'm really sensitive. Like if you remember like if anybody watched this a while back, my lips were really puffy and it's because I have like a sensitivity to a lot of soaps and stuff. So I decided to make my own. I like photography and obviously I love singing. I just like to get together with people and sing in like harmony and just do different things. So that's a lot of fun. And I think this is kind of fun. It's not really like something I'm doing, but my husband actually is, we like to work together, like remodeling things and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we like to do like a project where we'll tear everything down to the studs and just work together and like make a different remodeled room or whatever. So, my husband, though, we were renovating our for the first house we bought really, really cheap, and it was like a disaster. Like it had a hole in the floor where there was a plant growing from the outside and just different things like that. And we had like made really good progress on it and we were almost done with the kitchen and my husband like came over to me and was like, "Hey, I was really thinking like I would really like to go over and take some money out of the bank and go over to this guy's house and look at his like old Model T parts." And I was like, "We we don't have a working kitchen, Mike. Like, what do you mean you want to get a Model T?" And he's like, "No, I just want to like I really want to get into that." And I was like, well, we're gonna like finish the house, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're finishing the house." Like, and I was just like, "Go ahead, have fun." And so like he's just been like becoming this Model T expert over the years. And so I think Jen, one time you were over at my house and I think we went down in the basement and I was just like, "Oh, this is all Mike's like Model T stuff." And like I looked over and there's this engine sitting there and I didn't even realize that there was an engine in our basement and like all these parts and I was just like, where did all this come from? And
Yeah.
like
Oh
you were
yeah,
like
and
making
my
fun of it.
husband my husband Garrett was there too. And Garrett just thought it was the funniest thing that you did not know that all of this stuff was in your basement and like Mike was actually working on the Model T stuff. So I'm going to bring up his YouTube channel cuz he has one and like show you guys like what he does cuz this is really really cool
Like
actually.
I'm really like excited and proud that he's decided to do this. Although I've obviously contributed nothing, but I did help him pick a paint stain and like do a paint stain color so that it could be close to the original color. That was
Yeah.
my one small contribution, but I don't know. I kind of think this is a fun
Here, this
mission.
is what he's building right now. So he's
So,
got there's Mike. But like let me move forward here and he's going to show like the oh there you are Jamie. The process of like building this and
So he built this from wood. Like this is all wood. And so he's
Yeah.
putting it together. This wasn't a kit or anything. He actually looked at the original blueprints um, from whatever, 1912, and built
Yeah.
that. And then it gets covered with metal. So this is not any part of the mechanics.
Yeah, so he's building a Model C, is that correct?
It's a Model T, but it's a C cab. And if you can see that little like arch, that's why it's called a C cab because it
Oh,
kind of looks like a, if you flipped it, it would look like a C.
yeah.
Um,
So he's building this from scratch. He's collecting all of the old Model T parts or the parts that like he cannot find. He is making himself or like somehow getting them. I don't know exactly what he's doing, but
well,
I
there's a
think
whole community, and we live in a very big manufacturing area. So he's going to machine shops and having,
so. This shows the he might show the inside of what he's gotten done so far in this video. This is his most recent, but like these are the doors he got with the windows. So this is the back of it. And so he's just like in his YouTube channel, he just like shows people like what he's doing and how he's doing it because for anybody that wants to build one of these, it's like impossible to find instructions on how to do it. Like Mike had to go through and figure a lot of this out
yes.
for himself when like
And
he couldn't find any plans. And so that's why he has this YouTube channel. Oh, here we go. Here's the back of it. Like or the inside of it. Like how cool is that?
but the thing is, like, there's a lot of people who build stuff and they're just not interested in
In
like helping our
sharing.
older people who don't really want, they're just like, figure it out, you know.
Yeah, and his YouTube channel is called Model T Delivery Car. So if you guys are interested in Model T renovations, you should look into it because it's
Oh,
honestly really cool, like what he's doing.
I will say, if you want to know why it's red, because everybody's like Model Ts are black. They come in any color that's black, right? Like that's like the thing. And actually they didn't like that was the original color was that red in 1912. The blacks were um later on in the late teens, like 1919, 1920. But those early ones did have some colors actually. So, um you went with the original. Nobody knows really what the original color is, but you try to get as close as you can at
Mm-hmm.
this point.
Mm-hmm. And
Anyway,
so
I know that's not like
what year is he going for? Is he going for
well,
1912? Okay.
the year the Titanic sunk, they say.
Ah, very cool. Very cool.
So, lots of interesting things from that year. So, what about you? Let's go to something a little bit more like about your podcast.
Okay.
Um, what was the most fun Bible passage to talk about in your podcast and the most challenging?
I think the most challenging. Okay, in the Old Testament, it was the book of Joshua.
Oh, yes.
Because Joshua, like, I hate to say this, and I'm almost hesitant to admit this out loud. The book of Joshua got really boring to me about halfway through. Like, when it started talking about the division of the land to Israel, I was really struggling with that portion.
Well, because it's like you get into Joshua and it's like these huge
Intense
miracles,
battles. Yeah.
battles, everything, and then very many verses that are very similar, but just talking about things that we as like Americans aren't familiar with, especially like, I mean, maybe it would have been different if you were like in Israel and could be like, hey, this area over here. But it was just like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Because, if it was talking about America, that would be like American history, right? Oh, Ohio was dedicated to, this tribe and Colorado was over here, like it would have been a little bit more interesting. But because I didn't know the layout of Israel, it didn't make any sense to me. So that being said, though, because I didn't know how Israel was laid out, it actually forced me to learn about Israel as a whole and like what the land actually was. So that was kind of cool that I got to learn that. So what I would do when the book of Joshua like rolled around, I would like talk about the different land, like what was available there, if I'm remembering correctly, and also talk about the tribes that went into that land. Because, you know, for the podcast, you can't have everything be too repetitive all the time, because then, you know, people will be like, oh, I don't need to listen to that portion of scripture or whatever. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my point with that. But
we have very short attention spans, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like heard this, been there, done that. Okay. But yeah, to get the more, but I think that's important though, because then you get that little more information, and that probably was very challenging because you had to really deep dive in. And so was that harder than talking about, maybe the repetition was harder than talking about something that culture would consider controversial?
No, I like controversial topics usually.
Okay.
Because I can prove what scripture is talking about and give like real life examples. I actually kind of enjoy talking about controversial topics. However, they do kind of stress me out a little bit, only because they take a lot longer for me to record and edit than, say, like just a story out of the Old Testament.
Oh, that's true.
If I'm thinking about the New Testament, my most difficult passages were definitely out of the book of Romans. Every single time I went down to record a episode from Romans, I had some sort of like mental breakdown. And that's not a joke. I remember one time like sitting at my desk just crying before I began the episode, just out of like frustration. And that was when I realized that there was like some sort of spiritual warfare going on, because I'm not really one to sit and start like crying over something.
No, you're really not.
Yeah. And so that was when I realized, I was like, there is something going on here. And also when I was in Romans, another thing that was happening to me, which was really weird, I got super sick that year. And this was last year. I was sick like every 2 months. And I was just getting colds and flus and like all this like weird stuff going on. There was also that. And then I had like terrible allergies going on where I'd lose my voice at the same time. There was some sort of like spiritual oppression happening to me throughout the book of Romans and like kind of into 1 Corinthians as well, where I was actually struggling to do my podcast every single day mentally. And I'm thankful that I think that's over with now that I'm in the book of Galatians. But that was very strange there for a little bit, like what was going on with me. And so that was really difficult for like the mental aspect of doing the New Testament. It was just very difficult for me. So I'm thankful that seems to be mostly over. But that was a struggle. And I don't know. But when it comes to like fun passages, I would say that my favorite passages are whenever I learn something new that's very interesting to me. Something like I had never considered before. So the episode that I did in 1 Corinthians with head coverings for men and women, that was one of the funnest episodes I ever did. Because,
really?
Yeah, because that opened up my eyes to something different that I hadn't discovered before. Another one like that was, I believe, John 15. That one was really fun for me because I learned...
The vine being lifted up?
Yeah, the vine being... I told you about that.
I always know when you're like excited about one because you'll text me. You'll be like, hey, did you know this or did you know that?
Yeah, so I learned something new just recently that it's just so fun to like learn little facts like this. Okay, so Jesus in Isaiah is called the green shoot, like a little green shoot rising up. And and you're going to crack up when you hear this. The English translation of Nazareth, where Jesus was raised, is Shootsville.
Yeah.
So when Jesus is called Jesus the Nazarene, he's literally being referred to as Jesus the shoot.
I
And
mean,
so it's just prophecy coming true. It's so funny. And that kind of stuff cracks me up and I love that.
not only like I love that because it's like it is prophecy and it's that he is the shoot coming up, but that God is so literal that he like even named and like just so many little things and that we don't notice. Love that.
All right, Jam, let's see. I'll do a question for you. On the same lines, actually. What was the biggest spiritual challenge you ever had?
When I was a teenager, I doubted my salvation so much that it would like overtake my life almost. And I don't know what I haven't run into this as much, but when I was part of when we were part, I guess, of the independent fundamental Baptists, I ran into this a lot and knew people a lot that would um do this. And there's just a lot of I don't want to say that there's works that you have to do because that is not in their teaching that you have to do extra works, but it's it's an undercurrent. They will never say you have to do this, but they will say like, well, I'm not saying that you can't be a Christian and smoke cigarettes, but I don't know how you could be. Like that will be in your sermon, like in
Oh, yeah,
somebody's
yeah, yeah.
stuff stuff like that. And whatever you could put in, you could say whatever. So it was like very, very heavy. And I would take these Bible verses because I didn't doubt God. Like I knew that there was God and I knew that I believed in him and that I believed in Jesus, but I doubted that I truly believed because the Bible says that, oh, the devils believe and tremble. And I was like, maybe I just believe in him, but I don't truly trust. And I would get stuck in this like rut and it would scare me to the point where I'd be like watching a movie and then I'd just be like, I am going to hell. And like that's all I could think about. Like it was terrifying. And this was years. And then I'd have like maybe a month where it'd be fine. And then I have a month where it's like really intense. And um I would try to, get over it. And I would be so scared. And maybe I'd talk to like somebody about it and they'd either make me feel better or they'd say, well, maybe you don't really know. Maybe you do need to get saved. And I'm like, well, should I get saved again? Like, what do I do? And, or it would be like, well, maybe you need to rededicate your life, or maybe, you need to work out your salvation with fear and trembling, or, there's a Bible verse also, which I don't want to make people doubt. I want to like help people with this if anybody's dealing with this. Um, but Matthew like 7 says, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father in heaven. On that day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons in your name and do many works in your name? And then will I declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. So I would like think about a verse like that in KJV, of course, that wasn't KJV. But and I'd be like, am I gonna get to heaven and be like, God, like I tried. That kind of stuff scared me. And there was no explanation. And it was just going around in my mind. I talked to my mom and she'd be like, James, you have trusted Jesus as your savior. That is enough. That is enough. And I'd be like, I know, but what if I don't really believe him? And I was just like in turmoil. Um, Now realizing that verse, if I would explain that to somebody else, I'd say, look, they are they are presenting their works to God and being like, look, God, look what I did for you. No, we don't do anything for God. He's given us that gift. And so it's not even talking about the same thing. And I didn't have any answers for that. It scared me. I was in just turmoil, constant grief over it. And one day I just confessed it as a sin and realized like that I'm not trusting God. I remember just asking Jesus, like, I've asked you to take this away. I've prayed about this. I don't know what to do. I know that I have no salvation in and of myself, but I wasn't trusting Jesus as enough. And I confess that. And I said, Jesus, you are enough. It's nothing I can do. It's no belief that I can drum up. And you are so good. And I trust my life, my eternal destiny in your hands. And it went away. I haven't had that ever again since then. And so I'm really thankful that God revealed to me that that was actually a distrust in him and sin because I wasn't trusting Jesus as enough. It was just, I was placing that on me. I have to do this. I have to do this. And I really think that was something that, Satan and, his powers can use to stunt somebody's growth because how can you abound in the Holy Spirit and let God lead in your life if you're always constantly like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I could ever be saved. Like I could not grow from that point. And so I'm very thankful that I don't have that anymore, but I do think that being in a legalistic position in a church like that it can stunt you like that and it doesn't help. And you have like, I don't know if you remember, we had one evangelist that came and he's like, I never doubted my salvation one time. Once I realized that God was enough, then I stopped smoking my cigarettes. I stopped with the addictions. I never looked back and I never had a doubt. And if you do, I would question your salvation. And so like you hear stuff like that and you're just like, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Wasn't our dad like, man, this guy is making me question my salvation?
My dad, like he knew that I didn't really talk to him about it much, but I think he knew that I doubted. And he's just like, man, that guy made me doubt my salvation. Like it was just, and it's like, it's scare.
Well, it's
scary.
scaremongering. Yeah. But the thing that is interesting that you mentioned twice here is like the cigarette smoking thing. And to the IFB Baptists, that is the biggest sin you can commit.
Well, like, okay.
And
like
still be a Christian.
And still
kind
be a
of.
Christian.
Yeah.
Like if you're like doing something else, like
if you're doing anything else, especially if it's like sexual, like you can't possibly be a Christian.
Never mind. Unless you're the pastor and then you just hide and go to a different church.
Yeah. That's fair.
But like your church members, like, oh, that kind of stuff.
Or one of the like leaders, like a youth leader, they can get away with the sexual stuff too. They just get, shipped off to a different church.
If you have a big enough name. Name.
That's true. Yeah.
But not joking aside, it was scary. And my mom, like I will say, mom helped me and she would sit there and talk to me for an hour and she'd be like, you're talking in circles. You just need to like trust Jesus. Like you've trusted Jesus. And another thing that they did was it was like, what day did you trust Jesus? What was the day? Did you remember where you were?
I remember this.
We had a song in college that was like, it was on a Monday, somebody touched me or something like that. And you're supposed to stand up when they got your day. And they had one at the end. It was on a some day. And I would be like, I don't remember. And they'd be like, how old were you? What day was it? And my husband knew his date. And like, so this went on till like, I knew my husband, but it was before I got married that that I told Jesus that I was sinning against him by not trusting him, trusting myself.
If I could say something real quick about that, I also kind of got wrapped up in that as well.
Really?
Like I was in the IFB much less time than you were, but I got baptized twice.
Yeah.
Once when I was like 6 and once when I was 7. Because when I was 6 and I got baptized, I didn't remember believing like the day that I believed in Jesus. But then when I was 7, I remember like this guy came and like spoke at like children's church saying that like, you need to remember like when you became saved. If you don't remember, then, you're not really saved. And I was like, oh, I'm not really saved. I don't remember being a 6-year-old accepting Jesus. And so I re-accepted Jesus at 7 and then got baptized again in the IFB church. And mom was not too happy with me.
Like you did know Jesus.
Yeah, and mom was like, Jen, you already know Jesus. You don't need to be baptized again. And I was
But
like, no, I need
did
to.
say they would tell you, don't listen to your parents when they tell you like you were saved because that is they're remembering, but only you know what's in your heart, so you do it, which yeah, obviously your salvation is only between you and God, but it was very like
Yeah. Well, I mean, mom eventually let me because I mean,
you got baptized.
I got baptized again. She's just like, whatever. If you feel like you need to get baptized again, then get baptized again.
But it was this like huge pressure of like, you don't know. Oh, you doubted. Maybe you're not saved after all. Like it was just always. And I think that puts a big focus on what are we doing, where the Bible puts a big focus on what is God doing and stop. God saved you. Do you believe that? Is God your savior? Did you confess your sins to God, to Jesus? He's your savior. It was very complicated and a child is supposed to believe like, and so I really did struggle with that. And yes,
Hmm.
I think that some of the bad teaching from the IFB uh, that we were in kind of contributed to that. So,
Yep.
okay, I have another question for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
No, another language.
I barely know another language. I can speak some Dutch, as you guys know, but I'm much better at like reading it. I actually have a Dutch Bible. Let me grab it real quick.
Do you really? Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Here's my Dutch Bible. It's
How
called
cool is that?
Het Boek. Het Boek, the book. And so yeah, it's just in Dutch.
Can you read like a little bit?
Sure, but let me go to like John because if I go to like one of the Psalms or something like that, it's gonna be harder for me to read. Do you want me to read it in Dutch or do you want me to read it in
Yeah, read it in Dutch so we can hear your good pronunciation skill.
Oh, that's gonna be hard.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'll try. Let me just do the first like two
Give
verses.
us like a verse in Dutch and then like a translation verse.
Oh man. Okay, can you bring it up then? Let's do John chapter 9.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh, wait. Don't let me see it in English.
Oh.
I'm not looking.
Oh, I have to look.
Okay, but don't share it to us
Okay. Sorry.
until I'm done. Okay. All right, I'm going to try. Jesus leep verder en zag een man die al sedert zijn geboorte blind was. Zijn discipelen vroegen, Meester, heeft deze man zelf gezondigd of is hij blind geboren doordat zijn ouders gezondigd hebben? Nee, antwoordde Jezus. Okay. It says, Jesus walked further and saw a man that, I don't know what the word sedert is, but all something, I would guess it's like life, was born blind. His disciples questioned, Master, did this man himself gezondig? I would guess that that's like, I don't know that word either, but I would guess it's like sin. Did this man sin and is blind because of that, or did his outers, his parents, sin? Neither, answered Jesus.
Nice. So,
Okay.
yeah, as he passed by, he saw a man blind from birth, and his disciples asked him, Rabbi, Master, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was blind? Jesus answered, it was not this man that sinned, or his parents, but the works of God might be displayed.
Okay.
Nice. Good
To
job.
be fair though, I kind of already know that passage in English, so I kind of cheated. But that was my best guess anyway in Dutch. So I can kind of read it and kind of barely understand it and barely speak
What
it.
level
So,
would you say you are?
so I just reached level A2 in Dutch. So it starts with A1, that means like beginner, and A2 is like not beginner, but not intermediate yet. And so I'm in A2, and it took me 8 years to reach level A2, when the normal person only takes about 6 months. So, yeah.
You know what, though? But like practicing every day or like talking, because when you went to the Netherlands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did they like let you kind of talk in Dutch, or were they like, we're
Oh,
gonna
they
speak
love
English?
they love teaching Dutch.
Do
So
they?
yeah,
Okay.
so they'll be like, yeah, this is, such and such in Dutch, or that word over there means this, or yeah. And so it's really cool. But they also, when I went there, because I've been to the Netherlands twice, they also kind of don't really want you to speak in Dutch either, because they all know English anyway. So once you like start speaking Dutch, they're like, no, don't even bother. Here, I'm gonna switch over to English.
So, okay, so like they're in conversation, probably they will, and they're like really excited about it. But then if like they're in a business that takes too long and they're just gonna be like, English.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Or like at restaurants or something, they'll just speak to me in English. They don't care.
they're
Yeah.
like, no, no, no. Nice
Yeah.
try.
Yeah. You're good. In their case, it'd be nay, nay, nay.
That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm. So I enjoy learning the language very slowly. But, my husband, he's like, why are you learning Dutch? There's going to be no point for it in your life. I'm like, but I like it. I actually do enjoy learning it, and it's kind of fun for me. And, yeah. All right. Well, that's all for now, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to switch over to the members, and we're going to ask 2 more questions each. And these questions are going to be a little bit more spiritual, some of them. But guys, I hope that you enjoyed this Get to Know Us episode. But I'll see you all next time on the podcast or on discussions. Happy watching, and God bless.